Seattle, Washington, 2026. Ethan Hale, 26 years old, returned to his childhood home carrying the weight of a failed dream. His startup had folded after investors abruptly withdrew, leaving him with debt, sleepless nights, and a restless mind still searching for purpose. The familiar streets looked unchanged, but to him they felt narrower, as if the city had been watching his fall from a distance. Gregory Hale, his 55-year-old father, held a senior vice president role at Cascade Dynamics, a leading technology conglomerate. Known for his sharp suits and sharper ambitions, he offered Ethan a new path, a family venture aimed at building a lightweight neural network module for autonomous delivery drones. The proposal was practical, promising, and framed as a bridge between father and son. Ethan began sketching system diagrams on sheets of graph paper, translating ideas into architecture for the module's processing core. He wrote the initial recognition models, tailoring them for low-power operation, and spent long hours refining the code to ensure efficiency under limited battery capacity. His small workspace in the garage became a blend of solder fumes, tangled cables, and the steady hum of testing equipment. He sourced components from open hardware suppliers, ordering microcontrollers, sensors, and boards, then designed custom-printed circuit boards to integrate them seamlessly. Every new part was logged, photographed, and filed in a growing archive on his laptop. He wanted the process to be traceable from the first resistor to the final flight. Testing took place on the quiet edges of Tacoma's industrial zones, where disused lots provided open airspace. Ethan watched the prototype drones lift from cracked asphalt, their movements smoother and their flight times longer with each iteration. He tweaked the neural net parameters nightly, pushing the limits of recognition accuracy without sacrificing power efficiency. Gregory used his corporate connections to secure the promise of access to Cascade Dynamics' test range, as well as a potential meeting with the certification team. To Ethan, this felt like the first genuine investment of trust from his father, and it kept him working deep into the nights, driven by the thought of a joint presentation. By early autumn, the module had matured into a compact, low-power chip embedded with an energy-optimized model trained on real-world delivery routes. In benchmark tests, it consistently extended drone battery life by up to 40%. For Ethan, these numbers meant more than performance. They were proof that the idea could change the industry. He documented everything with meticulous care. Each day ended with updated logs, version-controlled comments, and short-build videos showing assembly stages. His email threads with PCB manufacturers were all in his name, establishing a clear trail of authorship. He even kept time-stamped backup copies in off-site storage, a habit learned from the unpredictability of startup life. In his mind, the future unfolded in sharp focus. A peer-reviewed publication, a licensing deal, and perhaps a small but respected place in the technology community. The project was both his redemption and his next beginning. Then, in December, Gregory requested the full presentation deck, saying it needed legal review before any corporate demonstration. He also took the physical prototype, assuring Ethan it was for preliminary internal checks. That evening, Ethan watched his father drive away with the device, unaware that this departure would stretch into a week of silence and mark the first crack in the project's foundation. January arrived with an unexpected corporate bulletin. Cascade Dynamics announced an internal award for a breakthrough navigation module, crediting Gregory Hale as the lead innovator, supported by the Corporate Autonomous Systems Lab. The announcement carried photos of the device, unmistakably Ethan's prototype, complete with the hand-drawn marker codes he had placed on the PCB months earlier. An internal demo followed, streamed to staff across divisions. The screen showed the exact casing, board layout, and performance benchmarks Ethan had documented in his own tests. There was no mention of his involvement, no acknowledgement of the original garage work. The corporate branding erased every trace of his name. At a family dinner days later, Gregory spoke of the project as a collective achievement, emphasizing teamwork and discretion. He advised that certain ideas should remain within the walls, framing secrecy as a necessity for success. Ethan recognized the subtext. The project was no longer his to speak about. Refusing to accept silent erasure, Ethan began locking down proof of his authorship. He registered the original source code with secure cryptographic hashes and filed a provisional patent application on his own, marking the design and software under his name. Each step was timed and documented to establish a legal foundation. He uploaded dated build videos and flight test logs to an independent cloud storage service, using a notary to certify the timestamps of every file. The archive grew into a precise timeline that could not be disputed without denying hard technical evidence. Reviewing his old correspondence, Ethan found emails where Gregory had requested STL files of the module's casing and training scripts, claiming they were needed for legal review. The forwarded chains showed those files sent directly to corporate addresses, stripped of Ethan's name and context. The discovery confirmed what he had begun to suspect. The transfer of intellectual property had been deliberate and calculated. It was not an oversight. It was a controlled shift of credit from son to father, executed with corporate efficiency. A quiet message arrived from one of Gregory's former compliance colleagues, warning him that his father had been nominated for a state-level Technological Leadership Award. A press conference with the governor was already being planned, alongside a high-profile corporate presentation. Ethan weighed his options. An early confrontation risked being dismissed as bitterness, especially against a figure with his father's influence. A quiet legal claim might be buried in bureaucracy before it gained traction. Timing, he realized, was his most valuable asset. He decided on a calculated approach to build an irrefutable case and reveal it at the peak of his father's public recognition. Only then would the impact be impossible to contain and the cost of the lie too high to ignore. By spring, Ethan began methodically organizing his evidence. He set up a continuous video recording showing every stage, from unboxing components to the drone's first successful flight. The footage captured hands-on assembly, wiring, and calibration, leaving no gaps in the development sequence. He matched flight telemetry logs against geolocation data and archived weather reports from each test day. The correlations confirmed the flights had occurred exactly when and where he had claimed, leaving little room for dispute. From the PCB manufacturer in Bellevue, he secured official confirmation letters. The invoices bore his name, order numbers, and delivery records, proving the boards originated from his own account rather than any corporate order. A trusted mentor from the University of Washington reviewed the source files and hardware designs. The mentor signed an expert statement affirming that the architecture and code matched drafts Ethan had uploaded to a private repository 6 months earlier, to which Gregory also had access. Ethan also reached out to his neighbor, an electrician who had assisted with soldering during the prototype's early build. The neighbor provided a dated photograph, its EXIF metadata intact, showing the partially assembled board on Ethan's garage workbench. Seeking external leverage, Ethan contacted a journalist from a respected regional business publication. He also approached a volunteer attorney from an intellectual property law clinic. Both received secure, encrypted copies of the evidence, marked with a strict embargo until the chosen release date. In parallel, Ethan built a kill switch website. When activated, it would publish cryptographic commit hashes, full email threads, side-by-side video comparisons of his prototype and the corporate presentation, as well as a detailed timeline with supporting documents. The only restraint came from his mother, who quietly urged him not to destroy his father's career. Her words added a layer of personal conflict, but his decision was grounded in principle. Ethan wrote his goal plainly in his notebook: to restore authorship, halt the culture of credit theft, and ensure the truth was documented beyond erasure. This was not revenge for its own sake, but a deliberate correction of the record. 2 weeks before the ceremony, Cascade Dynamics contacted Ethan with a formal offer. They proposed a short-term contract for minor refinements to the navigation module, tied to a non-disclosure agreement and a waiver of all claims. The payment appeared generous, but buried in the legal text was a clause recognizing Cascade Dynamics as the sole internal author. Gregory acted as the intermediary, framing the agreement as a chance to support the family and avoid unnecessary conflict. He urged Ethan to sign quickly, stressing the supposed benefits and the importance of unity. Ethan listened without reaction, keeping his intentions hidden. He forwarded the agreement to the volunteer attorney who had been advising him. The attorney flagged the dangerous clauses, explaining that they would strip Ethan of any rights to future modifications, derivatives, or royalties connected to the module. Inside Cascade Dynamics, pressure mounted. An internal audit requested the original source code, but Gregory could only produce a compiled package with no development history. This gap raised questions that began to circulate quietly among technical staff. In a rush to cover the absence, the department attempted to rewrite portions of the code from scratch. Yet the original fingerprints remained. Distinctive comments, function names, and even typographical errors identical to Ethan's work, embedded deep in the structure. The journalist confirmed new details. The award ceremony and press conference would be combined into a single high-profile event at the Museum of Flight. Guests would include the company's board of directors, the state governor, federal partners, and a full live broadcast crew. Ethan applied for attendance under the designation family member and was accepted as a VIP due to his last name. This ensured him both access to the stage area and visibility during the program. In preparation, he assembled prototype number 2, making only slight changes to the casing so as not to distract from the hardware's core identity. Inside, the same boards and firmware ran flawlessly, ready for direct demonstration. He also prepared a portable display capable of showing the real-time operational log. If activated, it could stream data identical to that shown in the company's presentation, matching down to the millisecond and proving his authorship on the spot. The day of the ceremony arrived under clear winter skies. The Museum of Flight's main hall was transformed into a stage for prestige. Large banners displayed Cascade Dynamics' logo beside the emblem of the state award. Behind the podium, a glass case showcased the innovative navigation module in its corporate housing, lit by sharp white spotlights. Rows of suited executives, political figures, and media crews filled the hall. The hum of conversations and the clicks of cameras blended into a steady background noise. The program began with speeches praising technological progress and leadership, leading up to Gregory Hale's introduction as the visionary behind the breakthrough. The host read Gregory's career highlights, projecting images of him with prototypes, diagrams, and corporate teams. Applause swelled as his name was called to receive the award. At that precise moment, Ethan triggered the kill switch from his phone, activating the website that instantly went public. The journalist's article appeared online within seconds, accompanied by side-by-side video stills, commit hashes, invoice scans, and metadata from the original builds. Automatic notifications pinged the governor's press office, the corporate board, and multiple media outlets covering the event. Ethan rose from his seat when the questions segment opened. He approached the microphone with measured steps, facing both the audience and the live cameras. Without raising his voice, he outlined a detailed timeline, from the earliest build dates to the final prototype, anchoring each point with verifiable evidence. He cited specific emails in which Gregory requested files for legal review and later forwarded them to corporate addresses without attribution. He displayed these messages on the hall's large screens, the headers and timestamps visible to everyone. From his bag, Ethan retrieved the portable screen connected to prototype number 2. He ran the real-time log of its first recorded flight, then overlaid it with the company's promotional demo. The telemetry peaks aligned perfectly, down to the millisecond. His mentor, the PCB supplier, and the neighbor who assisted in assembly all stood in the audience. Each nodded when mentioned, providing visible, living confirmation of his account. Their presence added weight that no document could replace. A camera operator zoomed in on the circuit board displayed in the glass case. The feed caught the small hand-drawn marking on its surface, identical to the one in photographs taken in Ethan's garage months before. The image froze on the projection screen for the entire hall to see. The host faltered, shuffling papers, unsure whether to continue. A company press officer hurried toward the podium, gesturing to cut the microphones, but the governor intervened, requesting a pause for clarification. The board of directors retreated to a side room for an urgent consultation. Minutes later, the HR department posted a public statement announcing the launch of an independent investigation into the matter. Gregory, pale and visibly unsettled, attempted to frame the work as a collective corporate effort. Yet the screens behind him cycled through damning evidence. His own forwarded emails, stripped of Ethan's name, but carrying attachments that matched the original files exactly. The investigation concluded with clear findings. Gregory had appropriated authorship and misled both investors and corporate stakeholders. The evidence chain was judged indisputable, supported by third-party testimony and documented timelines that matched every public claim. Cascade Dynamics removed Gregory from his position. The governor's office issued a formal statement during a press briefing, declaring the award nullified and removed from all official records. The reversal was broadcast across local and national news outlets. The company extended a public apology to Ethan through a press release. It offered him a transparent licensing agreement, full recognition as co-inventor in the patent application, and ongoing royalties based on commercial deployment of the module. The journalist who had coordinated with Ethan received a regional award for investigative reporting, her article becoming a reference point in discussions about intellectual property ethics. The story gained traction in industry circles, sparking debate over corporate credit practices. Ethan registered a small tech company in Redmond, focusing on lightweight autonomous systems. With the first royalties, he hired 2 developers who shared his passion for innovation without corporate exploitation. He dedicated a portion of his earnings to establish a grant fund for young engineers working outside major corporate structures, aiming to help others avoid the barriers he had faced. The fund launched quietly, but attracted early applicants within weeks. Within his family, Ethan enforced new boundaries. He explained his actions to his mother directly, clarifying that they were rooted in principle, not revenge. Gregory was only invited to discussions through a professional mediator, ensuring a neutral setting. In the quiet of his workshop, Ethan removed the old hand-drawn marking from the prototype's circuit board and replaced it with a precise engraving of his new company's name. The drone's updated firmware carried the same identity. That evening, he composed personal messages to everyone who had assisted him: the mentor, the supplier, the neighbor, each including his gratitude and a link to the public archive of evidence. For Ethan, the conclusion was not a moment of victory shouted from a stage, but the creation of a resilient system, verifiable proof, formally recognized rights, and a project that endured because the truth had been documented in full and revealed at the exact moment it mattered most.